The Etrian Odyssey collection, man, I have been waiting for this since the day it was announced. The original Etrian Odyssey games are some of my favorite games on the Nintendo DS. I played 1 and 3 more than the one in the middle, but this Switch release was the perfect excuse to allow me to play it just as much as the others. Let's see how it's turned out. Before we get into it, if you like RPGs and other classic games and enjoy long-form video retrospectives, check out my other channel, A Bit More Jordan for a lot more me. I'm about to release a 6-hour Kirby retrospective. That's not a JRPG, but you know, there's Skies of Arcadia, Suikoden on there too. Go check it out, I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Now, just to start this review, these 3 Etrian Odyssey games are available to purchase individually on the eShop, or you can buy a bundle which saves a fair bit of cash. In the West, there is no physical release, however, there is a physical version in Asia which does have English. I'll talk more about that later, but if you're in a rush, links are below in the description for that. And also, considering this is 3 games together, and not only that, but 3 massive dungeon crawling RPGs, and the fact that they are HD remasters of old games, this review is going to be more focused on the port rather than the games themselves. I'll go over that briefly, of course, but you know, they're great games, I can recommend them easily, but this is more about the transition to the Nintendo Switch. So, Etrian Odyssey 1, 2, and 3 were a trilogy of games released on the Nintendo DS. They were super niche releases, but garnered a bit of a cult following because, of course they did. It was Atlas, it was the DS, it's like British people being offered a biscuit. Of course they were gonna wolf it down. They've been a staple of Nintendo's handheld consoles ever since, with half a dozen games between the DS and 3DS, but this is the first time they've been available on a big TV. They were known for their stripped backstory, mostly focusing on the gameplay. In fact, all of the games feature create a party where your entire team is chosen by you, their name, their class, even their looks. You have to balance the team yourself. Do you want to have a tank with you? Do you want something more technical? It's all up to you. This is your kind of fantasy. You have the exact same classes as the original, but now the sprites are looking brilliant in HD, really popping off the screen, even more than the 3DS version popped off and into your eyeballs. In these games, you get your own guild of sorts and are tasked with delving deep within the dungeons, finding treasure, taking on huge monsters, and performing tasks for people. The gimmick with these is that if you want to have a map, you need to draw the map yourself. This is as old school as it gets, and I don't mean on a piece of paper, I mean the game has a whole system for drawing it. On the original DS, it was much easier since the lower screen, you could effortlessly use a stylus without infringing on the gameplay on top. Obviously with the Switch, with its measly single screen capacity, it wouldn't be quite as natural of a fit, but they tried. What they do here is that you press a magic button, and like some sort of esport overlay or tacky Twitch plugin, the main screen is shafted to the side while the map maker jumps in, like the overly eager dude at work who always has to force his way into every conversation, kinda like that. But it works. Not entirely gracefully, nowhere near close to the original, but as compromises go, I think they did an admirable job. It takes a bit of getting used to, I'll fully admit. You walk around the dungeon with the D-pad and you can press A to interact with things, but the right analog stick controls the marker on the map. ZR is how you pick drawing functions or select the icons that you want to place. There's both a wall drawer and a path drawer, which can get rather cumbersome if you're wanting mapping perfection. What I would do is at first I'd walk, stop, draw a bit, and then walk again. But that did get quite tiresome, so in fact what you can do is you can pick the path function, place it over your current location on the map, hold ZR, which will draw, and then you move your character, at which point the path drawing will follow you. Yeah, you're walking and drawing at the same time. It only gets mildly annoying when you want to place icons because you have to open up a separate tab which covers the large style map entirely. You gotta pick your thing and then place it, then ideally take that tab down so you can see the bigger picture again. I mean, I don't know what else they could have done, but it's definitely not so smooth. But despite that, just the whole idea of map making, such a neat idea. I know a lot of kids did this back in the day with various games. I didn't because my mum would have smacked me for wasting paper, but I love it, and I wish more games did this, or at least give you the choice. The older I get and the more accessible games get, the more I like getting a little lost and finding my own way. I like thinking and doing things for myself, so yeah, game devs, let me draw more maps, okay? I played most of my time in docked mode because, I need to capture footage, but if you have a stylus nearby, you can do all this mapping with the touch controls, which is cool. I thought everyone forgot about the touch controls on the Switch. However, if you want to take away the main gimmick of this game, then you can keep the auto map on. Yeah, the game begins with an auto map feature switched on. But there's two stages of it. One is just the path, and the other one is the path and the walls. You still have to place the icons yourself. Personally, I'd feel a bit ignorant of the devs if I had this activated, so I switched it off immediately, but I fully understand those who want to have it on. So there is accessibility there. In fact, the whole game, really quite accessible. Aside from the auto mapping, you can also turn on auto attacks. So now you don't have to play the game at all. Yeah, you don't fight, you don't draw the map, you just sit back and enjoy. And for those who found the originals too taxing, there are difficulty levels added. There's Picnic, Basic, and Expert, which is probably the original difficulty. I actually tried the Picnic one just to see, and it does live up to its name. Just auto-attacking will kill everything. You barely even need to heal. There's speed options for battle, text. It is a breeze to play if you want it to be. And although personally I wouldn't need any of these options, it's great that they're here. But I do advise, people, you challenge yourself. You'll find it very rewarding. It's what this game is all about. Don't get too comfortable, okay? The biggest downside is that there doesn't seem to be the story mode content that was included in the 3DS remakes. Yes, this is the second remake of some of them. Seems like a bit of a waste since, it would have had a broader appeal to have like a proper story and an actual character. And the work was already done. You've done the work. Not sure why they decided to only focus on the DS versions rather than the newer ones. It's a pity, but what can you do apart from complain like me? Visually, rather impressive too. Sure, the 3D models of the environments don't have the most polygons out there, but the textures plastered over them, they look great. Really nice art style that pops off the screen. Bright, colourful, stylistic. I enjoyed the visuals a lot. It's kind of how I remember what they look like with my nostalgia goggles firmly in place. Of course, they look like grainy arse on the real DS, but that's why this art style works, because it's how you remember them. It doesn't feel like an imposter, if that makes sense. Apparently the music has been updated too, but at the risk of being a heathen, I have to say I never really paid much attention to the music in these games, either originally or in this remake. Maybe I should, but when you're busy exploring and map drawing, there's already two things going on at once. My brain can't cope with listening to music as well. Now these are available digitally. In a triple pack, you can get it for the princely price of $80 US. That's for the full collection. The UK is 72 quid, which is even worse. Or you can buy them individually for $40 a pop. So the collection is essentially a buy two, get one free offer. That does make it sound a bit better. And to be fair, about 40 hours per game each. That's a bit of bang for your buck, but I ain't making too many excuses because let's face it, that's a bit of a step too far. These are not brand new games, the remakes aren't that extensive, and it's missed some of the content from the 3DS remake, so I'm struggling to see that price. There's no physical release in the West, it is digital only, so you're stuck with that price or you're waiting for a sale. I mean, Atlas do sales like 30% once in a while, right? So, however, there is a physical release in Japan and Asia. But forget the Japanese one, do not buy that one because it does not have English. However, the Asian version most certainly does. Yes, there is an Asian physical import that has English on the cartridge that will work on any Nintendo Switch console. And that physical release is only $70, so it's cheaper as long as you don't take into account taxes and shipping and explaining to your wife how this ended up in the post. Let's face it, that's going to cost you the most. But of course, physical retains value, you keep it forever, even when the Switch servers are long dead, or you can sell it on and get your money back, it will keep its value. In the description and pinned comment, I've linked to the physical that you want, the one with English, alright? Don't make a mistake. Plus, if you click our link, you support us massively at the same time, and we can support you too. If you click our link, you can get an extra 5% off with our current discount code SWTV23. Just remember, the one you want is the one that's linked in the description, okay? Don't waste your money on the wrong one. Don't make a mistake. I am guiding you to the correct one. And let's face it, having this physically is so much better. But what is disappointing is that there appears to be DLC, which I couldn't actually access prior to the review. But either way, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's just costumes or just different colors or if it's a whole other story mode. I don't know what it is, but I don't like it because you're paying $80 or so already. You'd think that they just include just about everything from old ass games. So that is quite disappointing. I'm a bit disappointed with Atlas here. But that aside, overall, it is a fantastic collection of 3 fantastic dungeon crawling JRPGs. They are perhaps a bit old school for some out there, especially when it comes to a lack of narrative and characters, but this is all about the gameplay. You can make your own characters. You've done that before with your D&D stuff, right? While I do lack an imagination, I still really enjoy these games. They scratch an itch that very few games can. Those that try to emulate the Etrian Odyssey gameplay. They're challenging, adventurous, addictive, and although the price is a bit much for essentially retextured DS games, I'm pretty sure it's priced that way because they are an acquired taste, and people who have acquired tastes need to pay a bit more than normal. Okay, so as per usual with these ports of classic games, I'm going to give 2 scores, one for the games themselves and one for the effort in the port. Now the games themselves, I'd give an 8.5 out of 10. They are an acquired taste and they could be improved in a few areas, but there's still purity in what they set out to achieve. I think more story would have been better, but that's just me. As ports, they've done a good job. I would give that an 8 out of 10. It was always going to be awkward adapting double screen stylus using gameplay onto a single screen that people don't like getting their sticky cake fingers all over, but it's done the job well enough and the visuals are nice too. There's accessibility options. It's a better than solid job. It's just a pity they didn't have the 3DS content in here. Alright, thanks for watching. If you want to purchase this physically, check the links in the description to support us. Always appreciate that. And if you enjoy physical collecting, check out my weekly video series every Monday where I update you about them all. Plus, if you like JRPGs, retro titles, check out my other channel, A Bit More Jordan, for a lot more me. You'll like it.